Greetings and hello, Augies worldwide. Good to see you this Saturday. It's April the 18th, and another week where we're all at home, or so many of us are at home. And it's nice, sort of sunny day here, some clouds. Be a very nice day. 9-mile-an-hour wind from the northwest. So just wandering around. Well, welcome everybody. The video that I put up yesterday, I was kind of surprised. It was just a little video showing me taking my old FM 2 meter, 70 centimeter radio down and putting in the GD, let's see, it's the D578UV Anytone, so I can use it for a while and do some more testing on it. Somebody asked me why not just leave them both up? Well, I don't have enough antennas to do that. And second, the 578 will do anything that the Yaesu will do. Even the Yaesu is an FM only radio, whereas DMR adds to that the DMR. Somebody asked me, and I'm not sure if it's in here, it may be in here. He says he thought everything on 2 meters was FM, that even the DMR transmitted as FM. That is not the case. It's actually a digital transmission. It's not an FM transmission that's carrying digital like packet or APRS. It is actually a digital form of transmission, sort of a pulse code. I'd have to look up the modulation type, but it's actually pulses. It's not FM. Okay, let's see. Cue the Cajun flute. Yes. Oh, I love that. The music I've got here. I got to figure out a way to play the whole thing. It's actually available from YouTube's music library. Hello from Portugal, Plymouth, New Hampshire, New Mexico, Chicagoland, Cabin Fever. MW0ARL using 49.1 ballon for an end-fed half-wave antenna. Should it work on any band depending on the length of wire? Actually, it's kind of interesting how those work. Use that 49 ballon for an end-fed antenna to end-feed it from the other side of the ballon. And remember, there's going to be two outputs from the ballon. Make the other one a counterpoise of some kind or attach it to ground. But if you put out a 66-foot length of wire, it'll work on 20, and then, it'll work on 40 and 20 and 10. And since it works on 40, the third harmonic is 15. It may work on 15 also. So you can also make it 132 feet, and then you can get 80 on that thing too. Let's see, haven't even unpacked my 578's. Nice radio. Another New Mexican here, phase shift keying. PSK phase shift keying is used for PSK 31. It hasn't found wide use on the ham radio bands. Actually, frequency shift keying is more like it. FT8 is actually frequency shift keyed. Kentucky. Hi from Philly. Favorite antenna? Oh, it's the one I'm using right now. Whatever. I've tried so many different antennas. Anyone tried this 50 kilohertz to 1.5 gigahertz vector antenna analyzer? It sounds like the micro VNA. Still sitting here between Mount St. Rainier and Mount St. Helens. Beautiful country up there. Regards to chapter wire, there are two calculations, 7.1 to measure the feet with an antenna. It's the actual calculation is 468 over the frequency. Now that calculation assumes you're doing wire antennas, and they're wire antenna, just normal length wire like electrical or house wiring or something like that. And if you've got a different velocity factor, like if you're doing, twin lead's got about the same velocity factor. If you're making other antennas, you may have to adjust that. The general class book for a while made a fuss out of using the equation and then having you shorten it to get, and when I went through the math, it ended up 468 over F. And I worked 468 over F backwards to see what assumed velocity factor was in there, and it's 0.95, which is wire, so you can use that. Peter B., thank you very much for sending your nice message. Super Chat is open. It's the little $ icon right underneath where it says, it's got your name and says, say something. Let's see, FT8 is audio FSK? Yes, that is true. And then it's modulated by the transmitter. And that's why you should use upper sideband when you do it. So you get the FT8 has 8 different tones. And you don't want to flip them. You want them the right way. So use upper sideband to do that. Omaha, Nebraska. Any update on online testing? That is a favorite question. The ARRL is coming around fast, the idea of online testing. There are some VE teams that are doing it already, not nearly enough to copy or to meet the pent-up demand. But I think we're going to see a change in the way we do testing, and that it will be more online and less having to go somewhere. Did I ever work through the Nano VNA? I haven't, sorry. One of the people who sent me a message volunteered to get on Skype with me and walk me through it, and I'm going to take him up on that. If I build an end-fed half-wave with a counterpoise not connected to the coax shield, do I still need a capacitor in the transformer box? You shouldn't need a capacitor in the transformer box. There's no need for that I know of. An end-fed half-wave should have about, the actual turns ratio is 7-to-1. So you square that to get the 49-to-1 impedance match, and should still work. But it has to work against something. So let's see, from Yorktown, Virginia, essential personnel as an RN in the PACU recovery room, working, no stay at home. Man, I bet you would like a few days at home. I'll tell you that. The Holloman sled track. Oh, yes, I remember that from my days at Northrop, where we were making the IMU for the MX missile. Can still find lots of operators on PSK 31 and 20 during weekend afternoons. Yeah, they're too fond of their macros, really. PSK 31 common in Europe. Did you take advantage of it? I didn't. How about the high-gain telescopic VHF antenna? How do I connect the coax cable to the SMA female connector? There are adapters, but remember that telescoping VHF antenna wants to work against some sort of a counterpoise. And when you attach that to the radio itself acts as the counterpoise. So you're going to need some sort of counterpoise up there. But that's not that hard to do. You know, something that works really well for a 2-meter antenna, and if you have an SO239, you can make an antenna. Coat hanger wire. I've made antennas with coat hanger wire because on a 2-meter antenna, the vertical is only 19 inches. And then you need 4 19-inch radials kind of bent down a bit to get the input impedance up a little bit. Very easy antenna to make. Kevin Laughlin has some videos in the Nano VOA. Maybe have him on as a guest. I should do that. It's a good idea. Although he's not local to any internet, that's for sure. Thank you for your service. Yes, to the fellow who is the nurse. W5YI doing online testing regularly. Boy, I hope you can, check with them. I'm an ARRLVE, but I have no heartburn about using another VE. They're all the same. W5YI is Gordon, forgetting his last name. Anyway, he's a very prolific teacher. FT8 signal is not below the noise floor. It can be. They've done some amazing things. Not the noise power across, which is how the SNR is reported by convention. Yes, true. Okay. Is there a digital mode similar to JS8 called FT8 that is more sensitive? FT8 is pretty sensitive. Yes, if you do some of the modes like Olivia or MT8 or some of those modes, which you can do with FLDigi, those can be extraordinarily sensitive. Okay, West. Gordon West, yes, thank you. Hi, Josh. Is Josh on here? Okay. Strip back coax for a 2-meter antenna was my first. It worked not really well. Okay. Somebody's saying hi, Josh, but I don't see Josh on here. Josh is a great guy. Let's see. Do I necessarily need an SO239 chassis connector to make a ground plane? No, there's lots of different ways you can do it. You can actually just do it right with the coax itself. Do you have any suggestions for an HF antenna for a tiny garden? You'll probably end up having to go vertical. For example, a Cushcraft AV640 antenna does not require radials and does not require very much of a ground footprint. There's Josh. Okay, what is your opinion on the DX Commander versus the unfed half-wave wire? I do not have a DX Commander, nor do I have access to one, so I can't test it. I can't say. Okay, let's do some questions here. It's almost a quarter after. This first one is from Christina Bliss, KN4FAA. He says, thanks for all you do for hams. I want to follow your advice and concentrate on 40 meters, so I'm hoping for advice on the best on her $150 QRP CW portable transceiver. My favorite in that category is the one from QRP Labs. It's qrp-labs.com. It's a kit, and it's not a beginner's kit. The Cub would work, but that's only 2 watts. One sells a low-cost pre-assembled package with not that I know of. She wants a pre-assembled package with a mini transceiver, portable dipole, mini antenna tuner, necessary cables, a keyer. I don't know of any. Now, I know that people like DX Engineering make a first-time pack for general and stuff like that. Time of buying these, let's see, you make a video for this. Let me see. Oh, the Altoid kit and the nice soldering iron. Let me tell you why I do not recommend QRP as a first mode, QRP sideband especially. I recommend that you have 100 watts so that you'll have a good chance of lots of QSOs. The QRP takes skill and experience to do that. And it's something you don't have when you're first starting out. I recommend that you start out with a 100-watt radio. I really do. If money is an issue, look at the Yaesu FT450. Let's see. Okay, hello, Frederick Rurup. First time on Dave's live chat. Good. Okay. The MFJ Cub is a 2-watt antenna. Now, on CW, you can get lots of contacts on just 5 watts. But on sideband, that's a different story. It really is, because sideband takes a little more power. Okay, this one was originally sent to my WordPress website at dcastler.com. It says, hope things are well. I just got my tech license a month ago before everything got locked down. I'm really enjoying talking with local hams around my area when I'm at work. Well, kudos to you for getting online or getting on the air. That is super. Would like to try to make a J-pole to help me reach the repeaters. I've seen people make the J-pole out of 300 ohm twin lead. Can I make a J-pole from 12 gauge household electric wire? Probably not. If you wanted to, you could take a piece of like 3/4 inch PVC and then tape the wire to one side straight, and then use the other side to bring up the quarter wave matching stub. That could be made to work. It'd be easier to buy a kit or find the instructions for making a copper J-pole out of copper pipe if you've got any laying around. Copper pipe's kind of expensive these days. There's a guy by the name of Ed Fong that makes some nice little kits that you can use on that. And there's a question in here about that. The problem with the 12 gauge household electric wire is not designed as RF to conduct RF. Get some twin lead. Ask some local hams if they've got a few feet you could borrow permanently. Or look at the Ed Fong stuff. There's other things that have it. This is from Mark Strawcutter, who sent in lots of notes this time. The IC7300 is a nice feature that sets the tuner on a mode that allows a wider tuning range beyond the normal 3-to-1 match. That is in the manual. You can do that, but you need to cut the power in half because the tuner's not going to tune it quite properly. And that is an emergency mode because you're not going to get all that much power out. You're going to get a lot of reflected power that's not going to be taken out. ICOM has a new QRP rig out. Yes, the IC705. Consider the Micro BITX. I have a Micro BITX. I just got one. World Amateur Radio Day. Yes. Yes, 'tis. Let's see. I agree with the QRP sentiment. QRP can be very frustrating. Soldering copper pipe is fun. Oh, you need a torch to do it. I've done it. I've made them. In fact, I hosted a J-pole party once where we got a bunch of people together and made our antennas. Looking to build a backpack portable system with the 857D. What would you recommend for an antenna? Well, yes, definitely separate UHF, VHF, and HF. Use a car UHF, VHF antenna? No. The car antennas are mag mounts, and they work against the roof of the car, is the counterpoise for them. They're capacitively coupled to the roof of the car. You can get one of those hanging roll-up J-poles, made out of twin lead, hang it from a bush or tree or something like that, and get on 2 meters or 440 that way. I have a very nice little roll-up antenna. I'll have to do another video on it, I guess. It's been a long time since I did it. This is from Dave McMakin, W7WDM. Sorry, sent this question to your business address. Anyway, well, it got to me. Ham Radio Answers. Anyway, have an MFJ 17754, which is an antenna I just did a video about. Trying to tune it. Could you send me a copy of the amendment page you have? MFJ does not answer the phones at this time, and I'm having trouble tuning it. Okay, I put that on my website. If you go to my website, and let's see if we can normal view. And I haven't looked at for backpack, how do I make a vertical ground plane coaxial antenna? You strip off 19 inches of the rubber outer covering, being careful not to be nasty to the coax underneath. Pull the coax down so that it folds back over the antenna, okay? Now it's going to want to stretch for more than 19 inches. Trim it so that it's 19 inches and then tape it on there. You can go ahead and leave the foam on the center conductor, and there you have it. You have a coaxial antenna. You may have to trim it up just a little bit to get the stuff just right, but that will make a great 2-meter antenna. Watch the solder chase after the flame. Ed Fong J Pole, Wolf River coils, yeah. Giving a certificate to those who work it. Okay. Forget about counterpoise. Oh, forgot about counterpoise. Yes, don't do that. Whoops, just got a whole bunch of stuff in. Audio. Oh, you know what? Probably. I'm sorry. On the audio, I don't have this set up right yet. Okay. Now we can go to the screen. Okay, I think I've got audio now on the screen, and we'll go to what did we have? What were we on? I don't even. Oh, we were on my dcastler.com. If you look at the first post there, there's the instructions for the 17754. If you click there, you get the addendum. It's right there. It's a PDF. You can print it as a PDF, okay? And then you've got, and I put a little bit of a note here that this is really more the amount that you change on each side, not just change on one side. Otherwise, you'll be chasing your tail for a long time. Okay, let's go back to live streaming. Okay, there we go. Got the audio. The names of the license-free channels, there's FRS. GMRS does require a license. FRS does not. That's outside the ham band. There are no license-free privileges inside the ham bands. Every other field is having that. Let's see, unless hams are inherently more dishonest, it's not different from any other license or certification. The point of a proctor and in the exam is to keep honest people honest. I mean, you know, a lot of testing centers, there are companies that do testing for a living. They know nothing about the particular test. They just administer it and proctor it. And, you know, you get people going through there whose livelihoods depend on whatever test they're taking. And so they proctor those things carefully. Okay. How do I set Google payments to donate to your live stream? Go to dcastler.com, dcasler.com/support, and the instructions are there. Todd, thank you very much for that. So, yes, and Super Chat, which is how to donate a little bit of money to the cause there, is down at the bottom. It's that $sign there. Just ordered some shark ham sticks and plan to use the mag mount that I use for my dual band Mobil. Wouldn't be moving when set to transmit. Is that going to be a problem? I don't think so, as long as you want. A coaxial antenna can be vertical. You just hang it vertically. I'm going to be making one for ADSB. I'll have to make a video. about how I do that, because you can just make it longer and it's a 2-meter antenna. About 3 years ago, QST did a write-up on those sleeve antennas. There are finer points like adding chokes. Yes, true. Dave describes a coaxial ground plane. Search on vertical sleeve antenna. For 20 meters on a 13.7 megahertz, you're going to need about 34 feet of wire. Why are you doing 13.7 megahertz? It's not in the ham band. I don't know why everyone would want to mess with making an antenna by stripping the braid back. Well, it's cheap. If you got a piece of coax, you can make the antenna for nothing. About the radio for my husband and myself for emergencies. Hi, Linda. I trust you're talking about 2-meter radios and that you've both got your ham licenses. It's a great way to do it. Will you ever do a 70-meter band breakdown like I did for 2 meters? Yes, I will. I've forgotten to do that. I like soldering copper pipe. Starting to do silver jewelry. Is a 2-meter vertical sleeve antenna considered a 2-meter vertical ground plane? No, those are two different. The vertical sleeve, the sleeve is the outside of the coax. Ground plane is spread out like that. The ideal ground plane would be a 19-inch radius circle of copper that you put up there and have your antenna coming up out of the middle of it. But you can approximate that just with several radials. Okay, let's go with the questions here. Hello from New Zealand. That is above and will allow for tuning down into the handband. If you're making a dipole, you're going to find out that if you tune for 13.7, say for example there's some shortwave station you want to listen to, the SWR is going to be quite high in the 20-meter band. This is from Dave McMakin, W7WDM. Let's see. Oh, trying to tune it. Okay, that was the one where we noticed I didn't have any audio. If you want, I'll be happy to set up a Skype or Microsoft to show you how to use your Nano VNA. Okay. Says not to be read on YouTube. Well, I'm going to take this one and set it aside and get in touch with that person because I've got one, but I haven't figured out how to use it yet. Let's see. Make one from what's left of your coax. Interested in where you worked in your EE career. I was in the Air Force for 4 years. Then I worked for Northrop. Then I went to work for IBM for a very long time. And then in the part of IBM that was doing business for the federal government, for the Air Force, in fact. And then I went to Lockheed, and then left Lockheed, went back to IBM, and retired from IBM. So that's my career. Let's see, Massachusetts. Okay, over 200 online. Oh, yeah, 205, 207. Great. Okay. 2-meter ground plane works fine in a piece of aluminum foil. Yes, that would work too. Note that the attachment of copper to aluminum will eventually corrode. Make the braid. Well, I explained how if you very carefully strip off the rubber coating without cutting the braid underneath, you can pull that braid down, the coax. I'm going to make a video showing how to do that. Yeah. Wanting to get into the handband. Well, Michael, persevere. Before I have a feeling the quarantine will end before we get remote testing worked out. See, this is Don. I am putting up a doublet, which is the MFJ 1777, and so have 450 ohm ladder line running from the antenna to the shack and into the balance tuner. How would you handle lightning suppression on that antenna? I'll tell you what some people have done that I know of. Get a piece of metal that you can drill and tap holes for a couple spark plugs, and then ground that piece of metal, and then attach the twin lead or your wire one side to each of those spark plugs. And then if there is a spark, it will spark across the spark plug and not get into the shack. Now you can change the voltage at which it will fire by changing the gap of the spark plug. Like I said, that's something that I have heard done. I've never done it myself. Yeah, I think everybody's getting a little antsy about getting out again. Coaxial collinear at home makes a J-pole look weak. Sleeve antenna gets taped to an 8-foot stick for raised manpack use. That would work, yes, very well. Just about used to get my HF rig put together. ICOM 756 Pro 2. Good for you. And Renee is an Augie. Good. That means she's a subscriber. Now this is from J72 IMS Ishmael Samuel from Dominica. Limited supplies, in that I have to make a simple 2 meter 70 centimeter antenna of 75 ohm coax cable and PVC pipe and a T connector, and also 2.5 inch elbows. What simple antenna can I make so like the antenna is made from coax cable and the frame would be the PVC pipe? You can run a that coaxial dipole, sleeve dipole, up inside a tube. Now that's going to change the tuning a little bit, not very much. EC Delco spark arrest, yes. And put it inside for water tightness. That does work. That's what Ed Fong suggests. And you can do that with a little bit of coax. The 75 ohm coax is probably RG6, which is very inexpensive because that's what's used for cable TV and satellite TV and stuff like that. But I think that would work well for you. Okay, this is from Alan Perrins. Watched several of your videos, and I still have a question that doesn't seem to have a definitive answer. What's the difference, if any, between a Baofeng DM5R late model and a Baofeng RD5R? From my vantage point, there doesn't seem to be any other than the bad rap the early DM5Rs got from being incompatible with Tier 1 and Tier 2. Well, that's a pretty bad rap. That means you can't use the radios really on DMR. On the surface, it appears that Baofeng made the changes upgrade to the DMI5 radio with the help of Radioddity and produced both a retail model which they sold and an OEM model which Radioddity sold. I don't recall Baofeng selling any DMR radios themselves. They were selling them all through Radioddity. But I'd have to check that. That information that I'm giving you is a year old. I did test the RD5R. I've got the one in the other room that Radioddity sent me. Nice little radio. Works just fine. Okay. 19 inches of braid, divide the wires for a group. There you go. Hi from Germany. Hello, Marcus. Roger Vargo. Hi, Roger. So how about a sleeve dipole made from heliax for better dimensional stability? Well, you could, although if you made it from just LMR 400, that stuff is pretty stiff. And that center conductor will go up 19 inches pretty well. Do you recommend the FT70 or FT60? I know the battery life is bad on the FT70, but digital looks exciting. It is, enticing rather. And Wayne replied he likes his FT70, and you can beat the price. Double braided RG6 is recommended, yes. Is 75 ohm coax, you know, a dipole at ideal height, which is half wave, has got about 75 ohm, 73 ohm center impedance Of course, you're going to have to do some impedance matching, but your radio's internal matching device, internal antenna tuner, is just fine for that. Put it in sealed glass tube and you invented the standard polyphaser, yes. Yaesu Fusion is awesome. I love it when you see an interesting country pop up on SDR and you go check it in its local station to where you are instead. Okay. Impedance of a dipole is 73 ohms at a half wave. As you bring the thing down, the input impedance goes down. So at normal heights for low band dipoles, 50 ohms is a good match. Let's see, this is from Sirsendu, Victor Uniform 3, Whiskey Tango Juliet. I think that's India. There are different types of antennas like vertical, hex beam, Yagi dipole, and random wire, but which one is good for DXing and which one is good for local contact? In general, you might want a dipole that's a little bit lower for local contact. A dipole put up 25, 30 feet for 40 meters will give you pretty good local contacts. The classic rule of thumb is that a vertical is better for DXing. Of course, if you got a Yagi on top of a tower, that's pretty good for DXing too. Hope that helps. Not everybody can afford more than one antenna, so go with what you have, make the best of it. This is from Prabhakar, KC3KKX. This, hi Dave, I'm using a HiQ mobile vertical antenna installed in my balcony railings. So it's a whip and a capacity hat, which means it's probably pretty narrow band. I have two elevated radials. The antenna is not receiving well. Added more radials didn't help. Suspecting my ground plate. I tried with a buddy pole, same issue. When I set it up outside in open land, the reception was good. It sounds like you're working from an apartment building or something like that. And if you're in the building, or if you've got what they call urban canyons, where, you know, right across the street's another building about the same height, it can be difficult to get out of there. And you may have to do what some have resorted to doing, and that is going out to a park and operating with that buddy pole and setting it up so you can operate easily portable from your car. It's frustrating. You know, there really is no good solution for the problem of antenna operations. Let's see. Let's see. How much difference in performance is there between an N connector and a PL259 on 70 centimeters? Maybe, and I'm being high on this, a half a dB? Not much. Do you have any plans to make any QSOs on Oscar 100? I don't. I'm not a satellite guy. And George says, thank you. Let's see. Love to have a Yaesu FT991A. Yeah, I looked at that radio. It was a very nice radio. N connector. Yes, it is a better connector for a variety of reasons, but it's not widely used in the United States. Contest stations sometimes will use all N connectors because they want that last little half dB to get it out there. Let's see, they do it for Europe. Yes, in Europe, the N connector is very common. Thank you for what you're doing. Founding members of Okies for Augies Net. Oh my goodness. Wow. I guess the best we can do is use an adapter at the radio. Yeah. How do you use an internet SDR receiver such as the Utah ones? Don't know. I've worked with the SDR Play ones. 6 meter transformer when the radio does not have 6 meters in it. Oh, you're talking about a translator. That used to be common back in the old days. Looking at an older ham radio handbook. Look at the old handbooks. They show some translators in there to where you could work VHF using your HF radio. And I'm not using the right term, translators. Please check your tip jar for my monthly support. Well, thank you very much. By the way, that will come on your credit card as Mount Sneffels Press. Is isotropic antenna radiate omnidirectional? If so, then what about a vertical antenna? A vertical antenna does not radiate omnidirectionally. It does not radiate up. It radiates out in a donut, going around toward the horizon. Rare occasions you can ask the building owner set up an antenna on the roof. I did that when I was in the Air Force, and I got permission to do it. DX Commander, hey, the man himself. How are you? I've heard so much about you and your products. Gosh, I haven't tested any of your stuff because I've never had one, but people speak very highly of your antennas. Let's see, if I don't have 50 ohm coax and have lots of 75, you don't worry about the 50 ohm coax versus 75 ohms. The impedance difference is not that much. Pretty much all LMR and other professional systems use end connectors. Well, Times Microwave, which makes LMR 400, sent me a kit with all the tools and several connectors to use to put on their very beautiful high-end connectors directly onto the Times Microwave stuff there. It's very good. Hello, Dave. Yes, from Jeremy. Hello. Transverter. Thank you. Transverter. Chris, I'm looking forward to checking. Okay. Fellow in the Ukraine sells them. Let's see. Looking for an Elmer. Check your local club. Call the ARRL. They may have a list of people in your area. 2-meter receive on the 991A has been awesome for me. What are you using for a base station tri-band antenna for UHF, VHF antenna? I don't have a tri-band antenna up. I do have one. It's right here. This is the one that Bridgecom Systems sent to me, and I don't have a base for it. And they didn't either, so I'm going to have to manufacture a base for it. Yes, Callum, it is very nice to meet you. Let's see, Chris, I heard that, join a club. Okay. This is from Dennis Parkinson, WW9T. I have a suggestion you may want to consider for future radio videos. If you thought about converting VHF, UHF commercial LMR radios. Oh, he goes through a whole bit about how you can. Here's the deal. Amateur best practice is wideband on FM. That's 25 kilohertz for a channel. But the FM larger public service community that uses FM has gone to narrowband, 12.5 kilohertz, because they're just trying to squeeze in more channels there. Okay, so a lot of the old wideband equipment is for sale, and you can get it on eBay for pretty cheap. So he's talking about some of the equipment that can be either used directly for or modified to work on the ham bands. And if you're up for that sort of thing, make sure there's probably appropriate face groups for that and so on for converting that equipment. But it certainly can be done. Now, it all depends on how much you value your time versus your money, because you can get some very nice VHF equipment, including digital equipment. Let's see, I think there was one for about $200 or $300 when I did that survey of 2-meter FM or 2-meter Mobils. You can get some fairly inexpensive stuff. Ishmael, to answer your question, yes. Okay. Bridgecom has a transceiver. Yes, I have that. I haven't used many commercial radios on 6 meters and up. I'm in a townhouse, with a deck over a steep downhill. Want to add hamstick dipole for 40 and 20. Have a chance it'll work? Yeah, I mean, you've got that part of the sky open to you. So yes, it would work. You can do a hamstick dipole or do the MFJ, what they call the apartment antenna, which is just one hamstick with a counterpoise. 90 versus 95 compliance issues. Let's see, tri-band antenna, nice. How do I program my UV5R to connect to a local repeater so I can listen? Well, get Chirp. Chirp. CHIRP dot danplanet, DANPLANET.com. .org. Anyway, you'll find Chirp, and Chirp will help you program that radio. Ed Fong is a tri-band J-pole. Yeah, I'd like to get that. I may order that. I've tried hamstick dipoles. They're very restricted in bandwidth. Yes, the Octopus antenna by MFJ has got 4 basically dipoles spread around on there. So it looks like an octopus because it's got 8 pointy thingies. I was really surprised how well it worked. The compromise you're making with that antenna is the bandwidth. Very narrow bandwidth, even on 40. Even on 20, you're not going to cover the whole bandwidth. And but it did work, and it doesn't take up a very large footprint at all. Somebody asked me about the MFJ, not spider beam, but the one that looks like a clothesline. I'll come up. Cobweb. The Cobweb antenna, and I put it up. It works fine. It's got good bandwidth. But I think it's about 3 dB down from my reference antenna. So it's a compromise antenna in that regard. Let's see. I'm going to try hamster. Yes, they are very restricted in bandwidth. Lots of good videos in programming UV5R radios is a really common radio. Chameleon now makes an octopus, and from what I understand, the hub on the Chameleons is much stronger than the MFJ hub. The MFJ hub, mine's all bent up. Let's see. The Windy brother. Okay. This is from Terrence Mulroy, KE8MVN. I have a very similar off-center fed dipole in comparison to the MFJ 2010, as seen in episode 252. I did not catch you trimming the antenna up for a lower SWR midband on 40 and 20. I did. I took about 4 inches off of one end and about 2 inches off of the other. And that's it. And I did it in the method that video I did on shortening antennas talks about. And that just neatly moved it right where I needed it. And that is the reference antenna, the 2010. Would you shorten the antenna or add length to lower the SWR? Well, that depends. If it's too low in frequency, you're going to shorten it to move it up. If it's too high in frequency, you've got to lengthen it to move it down. Okay. Yeah, and with that off-center fed dipole, take the right ratio off each end. It's a 2/3, 1/3 off-center fed dipole. And so if you're going to take 4 inches off of the long end, take 2 inches off of the short end, so it's still a 1/3, 2/3 antenna. Gordon West programmed the Yaesu FT60 HT for me at Handvention to work with a convention repeater 2 years ago. Bet it's a 2-meter repeater, probably is. Fantastic to follow you all the way from Norway. When you look info, what would you use as the most interesting development? Oh, I'm not so sure. I mean, the current digital on 2 meters is quite a bit of fun, especially DMR. Put up a cobweb 25 to 30 feet up. It's almost as good as a dipole in all direction. I had mine only about 17 feet up. That's probably why. Transverters are available. Okay, you'd have to look for them. I've never used one. I have an off-center fed antenna no more than 25 feet up. Can't get any contacts in surrounding states, yet I've made it to Australia on both 20 and 40. Isn't this the opposite of what it should be? Well, I don't know. You may be high enough to, well, it sounds like you're doing something right. So you may have to just wait for different band conditions. Looks like both the bands went long when you did that. If I solder length this 40-inch aluminum wire to the center, you're not going to solder to aluminum. Can't do it. PVC pipe. Get copper wire or copper weld or something like that. Something that is tinned. Now, you could heliarc it, but now we're getting into welding. Been missing with Ukrainian transverters. Oh, cool. Receiving a lot of skip today. 6 meters is popping a bit today. Good. Try FD8 on 6 meters. 50313, I think, is the right frequency for that. It's more than a trick, Neil. You're going to have real trouble doing it. You could crimp it. Okay. This is from Peter Bates. For operating portable with battery power, do you advise grounding the transceiver chassis to the battery negative terminal using the chassis ground lug or to a temporary grounding rod, both or neither? The setup in question uses an FT991A and a Baofeng battery. I have seen contradictory device. Let me give you the straight answer. If it works without grounding it, use it. If you put in a temporary ground rod, you're going to really pay the piper trying to get that thing out of the ground when you're done. And you could, if you needed a counterpoise, ground to the truck chassis. But I've worked lots and lots of portable over the years, just sitting at a picnic table with a battery, an antenna, and the radio. And it works fine. Your problem will be if you run into RF issues. When it's done without any reference to ground, it's going to tend to act as though the whole thing is balanced rather than unbalanced. And but I've not had that be a problem. So try that without the ground, and if it works, use it. Okay. I have a friend who operates HF in a crowded city surrounded by high buildings and only use a window antenna. After lots, you end up with a slinky antenna that droops down over the window. Yes, that works. Slinky antennas were once all the rage. There are all kinds of articles on it. You can probably find stuff on it. Never use aluminum wire. Well, you can. I mean, it conducts well, but where you hook it to copper is going to corrode. You need special connectors. There's one way you can do it where you use stainless steel and sufficient washers of stainless steel so that the copper doesn't actually touch the aluminum. The problem with aluminum wire is it's brittle. If you get one tiny little scratch on it, it'll want to break. Okay? So that's the real problem with it. It's just not worth bothering with. Let's see. DX Commander is live in 100 minutes or so. Feel free to come and, well, I certainly wouldn't heckle you. Boy, someday I'd love to test one of your antennas. So many people have told me I need to do that. You've got lots of fans on this side of the pond. And Hoshnazi is still there too. Wow, this is a YouTube reunion here. What is the tune to hear under noise to filter for space? Oh, now you're getting into exotic modulation modes and so on. Okay, hex beam or spider beam are better. The spider beam is and a hex beam are essentially the same thing. You need a rotator, yes. I have the MFJ hex beam, 20 through 6, and they offered to send it to me, and I says, well, fine, tell me what rotor I need to buy. And they said, well, we'll send you this cheap one. Well, it's a cheap rotor, but it sure works fine. Not had any trouble in any of the wind that we've had. By the way, I do want to point out that the super chat is open for anyone who wants to use that. Okay, if I solder this 40 inches of copper wire to the center conductor. Okay, now 40 inches of copper wire. I don't know that's going to give you 2 meters and 70 centimeters. When does space become too much for or time and power? I'm not sure I understand that. SXBJ, try that question, rephrase it. Need to block out South America. There aren't that many stations coming from there. LMR 400 is aluminum wire. It's a different aluminum. And it is copper coated. Okay? Problem with gold is you can afford it. Well, diamonds are cheap. Boy, I wish they were. On your video, shortening antenna 5 inches, can you speak to effects on RF antenna lengths by bending 20 meters of wires, for example, around insulators, twisting, folding? The effective length goes all the way out to the farthest portion that bends around the insulator. That's the length. What you bend back on there, even if it's insulated, it doesn't count as part of the length so much. Dave, shoot me an email with an address and I can send you a sample. All right, Mr. DX Commander, I will do that. I've got an acre here. I can set up any sort of antenna, and I've done lots of them. Don't block my signals. I am on the Caribbean. I won't do that. I'd like an antenna made out of gold. It wouldn't stay an antenna very long. Let's see. My Elmer in South Africa uses, what time we get? We're almost out of time. My Elmer in South Africa uses insulated aluminum wire for his antenna line. Yeah. I mean, like I said, if it doesn't crack, it's okay. And if you make your connections to copper with stainless steel in the middle. Now, stainless steel is not a panacea for corruption, but it is a good start. There's a whole science to dissimilar metals. Spider beam is tri-element. Well, mine is 5 or 6. What is the model number in my MFJ end-fed antenna? I don't have an end-fed. I have an off-center fed. And it does not do 80, although they do make an 80-meter off-center fed antenna that you can look at. Okay. Can't hear Europe for all the stations in South America. Really? Well, yeah, in Texas you're uniquely located. You know, you can get a the MFJ loop or any of the loops, any of the magnetic loop antennas, they have a null pointed on a line that goes right down through the antenna, and you can point that at what it is that you want to null out. Which is better for DXing, vertical or hex beam? Well, the hex beam has gain. The vertical does not. So, and that's Radio Shack VU3 WTJ. That is in India, I think. Cal, my address. Yeah. Get a hex beam. You're going to have to get a rotator with it and so on. David, thank you very much. Okay, let's do one more question and then we will have to call it a day. It's been a fun day. By the way, you can probably tell by the better quality video that I am using the new computer. The new computer is up. It's running. Now, I do have a problem that maybe somebody can help me with. I've got, of course, my regular Gmail address, but Ham Radio Answers, which is a second email address, I cannot get this computer to get it. Google keeps telling me, we have no idea who you are. and it works on my other laptop. I never set a different password for it that I know of, but I can't get it on this machine. So it's the only thing I need the old laptop for, is to get ham radio answers. And by the way, I'm not getting emails to hamradioanswers at gmail.com. I don't know if the system's not letting me have them or what. The ones that come through are those who go to ke0og.net/ask-dave. There's a form there. You fill it out. And those I'm getting. And there were none that were messed up this time. Let's see. Moxon antennas have front to back block. Anthony, thank you. Tell us a story from your Air Force days. Well, I once, when I was living in the bachelor officers' quarters, I was on the ground floor, and there were 2 floors. And I went to the base commander and said, I'd like to put an antenna up. And he says, sure. So I put my 14 AVQ up on there. I got some cinder blocks to hold down a pipe assembly that hold the thing vertical, and then spread out some radials on this flat roof. And then I ran the coax down the outside of the building through a piece of plastic pipe and then into the room, and it worked fine. So there's a ham radio story from my Air Force days. VPN, virtual private network. Corroded connections can be a source of radio frequency interference. Yes, that is true. You get a diode effect there, and you can get weird stuff coming out. How do you telegraph light and voice with only line of sight? Well, you can. Let's see. Your caps lock is on, Dave. Is it really? Okay. Try a different browser for the second account. Also get your account and check the security settings. Okay, how about my spam folder? I can check. I have checked that, and there isn't anything. They just don't seem to be coming to me. You know, somebody sent me something to my regular Gmail address. My wife got it. I didn't. I don't know. I'm really leery of Gmail for right now. Okay. Love the ribbon on your typewriter. Yes. 73. Okay, it is time to go. We've had 221 people on here, 69 likes, $20 in chat revenue. Thank you for your support. It's very meaningful. I appreciate it. I will continue to strive to put up a video every day during the emergency, so we have a little something ham radio to talk about. And I'll try and keep them really varied. Not all product reviews, not all how-tos, not all whatever, but keep them varied. And the reaction to this has been great. Lots of people are, I've got these metrics that YouTube gives you as to how well people appreciate the channel. And it's doing very well. Thank you. So I want to say to all of you, please stay safe. I know people are getting a little antsy to get outside, but don't jump the gun. Okay, rely on advice from the professionals, from the Centers for Disease Control, or whatever your government organization is that does the official science, the official medical science, and take the cues from them. Be conservative in that. Remember, just because we've kept the curve down a little bit this far, we can't all go out and party like they are in Florida, because there's just too big a chance of the curve coming back. So be good, get on the air, and we'll see you. Let's see, I'll do the next live stream on Thursday at 7 o'clock Mountain Time, which is 0100 Friday UTC. It's actually Thursday night here in the U.S. And then I'll do a little bit of a video every day. Thank you so much. And Callum, I'll have an email going your way very shortly. Thank you and have a good day. And until next week, 73.